Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2020. I'm not sure why Jason was giggling in my ear before we went live right there. Oh, did you?
Yeah,
being a silly boy?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Well, that's okay. That'll be tolerable because we might have a silly series on our hands. It's DAMWON versus Hanwha Life Esports. Both of these teams sitting at 3-3 at the moment as we move into week 4. And we'll see whether we can break the ties and who's going to be staying over the left-hand side of the bracket after this one.
Yeah, my money's on Hanwha Life right there. They're coming off of a pretty nice win. And I don't know, DWG's been looking pretty shaky. It's hard for me to really suggest that they would win much. I feel like they still need to prove a little bit more.
We're going to the west as opposed to the ship.
We're going to the west. 3 versus 3 tie. I don't know, I like the ship a little bit better. Sounds better than the west side.
Yeah, and the Trinimir pick got completely punished, and we haven't been seeing compositions like that since. And now with all of the Soraka bans, all of the teams figuring it all out, it feels like Hanwha Life have calmed down when it comes to their exciting drafts. But we'll see what this week is going to show for us. Because, of course, you know, we've had some time for the coaches to do some theory crafting and figure out another way to do some more crazy things and spice up the LCK with their picks. And it's been Hanwha that's been able to do that with their drafts. And let's see what's going to happen. Hanwha Life's flexible bot lane, we saw good old Lava come in and play a couple of games. Despite being 1-1 on the bot side, he has done, on average, 34% of his team's damage down there. So yeah, I wouldn't mind who I saw, to be perfectly honest, because Vista has also been able to come up with some pretty good performances. He, in fact, didn't die on his Ezreal performance to follow up. So let's see who they're going to be providing for us in the bottom lane. Because up against Nuclear and Beryl or Nuclear and Hoyt, depending on which one they want to go with, it generally just isn't too much of a tough ask. Unfortunately, the bottom lane from DAMWON, it's still the same as 2019, and it's still struggling.
So, Hanwha Life only wins if they get Dragon Soul. If they do not get Dragon Soul, they do not win. As you guys can see down there on the bottom side.
Same can be said for DWG, okay? They've won with Dragon Soul twice. And they win 100% of the time.
They've won without Dragon Soul 5 times. So
okay, that's a good point.
Same can't be said on their side.
So
although
we have to get Dragon Soul to win a game.
They really don't get Dragon Soul at all, DWG, whereas Hanwha Life actually get it the second most in the entire league. As the win-loss rate up there at the top side, you guys can see, very similar. DWG really haven't played all that many games. In the first series, we had 15 and 17. Now we have 14.
Well, DWG have only had one. They've had two 2-1 series. First one against T1 in week 1, and then against Griffin last week, where they won 2-1 in that particular series. It was a weird 1-for-1 as we have a look at some of these highlights, starting off with Hanwha Life. Cuvée having a pop-off performance. To be perfectly honest, Griffin couldn't really stand up against this team, and I felt like the series probably should have been a little bit less close than it was, as we did have 3 games. The series went the distance.
Yeah, we're going to take a look here at DWG's side of things. They lost 0-2 to Sandbox, and then Sandbox did not look good in their game against KT, so leaves you wondering, where are these teams towards the bottom of the table here in the LCK? Where do they rank? And I think we're going to find out a little bit more about that today.
The old 4-man haymaker, by the way. Yeah. That ain't a bad one from good old Noguri there. I believe DWG went on to lose this game because unfortunately Nuclear couldn't quite find too many targets to hit with his buttons towards the later stages. But still, DWG being able to still play the Kai'Sa despite it dying just there on your screen is a good sign.
You can see they were really struggling to find the high-level highlights there in their loss 0-2 to Sandbox. I want to take a look at one specific stat down there at the bottom. Isolated deaths, the first in the LCK versus the second in the LCK. Generally, these stats are based on your role. So you'll see on the right side, Nuguri has a ton of first stats for top lane, but he has a couple that are right up there towards the top for the LCK as well. First in the LCK for solo kills. And that's really been all that DAMWON has been able to rely on so far. It's all been about Nuguri. It's all been about his solo carry, what he can do. Can he pull the team to a victory just barely? If you remember, they barely won against APK, which is not a good look. Again, APK is coming into their own. But how about this? Zenit coming in for his first game.
Finally, we see Zenit moving on over from KT, now going to be playing for Hanwha Life Esports. Their third bot lane carry that they've shown us so far. And Zenit had, you know, mostly lows, but he had some highs last year that we saw. So let's see what he can do up against the bottom lane of DAMWON. And let's see exactly who that bottom lane is going to be. Skipping between Hoyt and Beryl, and most likely sticking with Hoyt throughout this season so far. But as we drift over to the names, it appears good old Beryl is back towards that bottom side, and I wonder whether this means we're going to be seeing more of that Kai'Sa Alistar play out of this bottom lane from DAMWON, because Beryl's Alistar is an absolute treat, and I'd be looking forward to see what this means for the drafting phase of this game. Game 1 between Hanwha and DAMWON. DAMWON with red side as well, so counterpick for most likely this gentleman after the draft.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not counterpicking for the one guy on your team that actually carries, I think you're making a big mistake. Good old Atlas. So we're on the same side here, the same thought pattern.
Nailed it.
Zenit is going to get his first chance to come out here and impress.
See whether he can take us to the ship on Hanwha's side. A very important match for Hanwha Life, trying to get themselves to the top 5 rather than the bottom 5. This is a team that throughout their history has been 6th. That's just where they live, just one step away from the playoffs. Well, let's see whether they can bring themselves into 5th place with a victory here. It's all going to start with game number 1 and with the draft, as Hanwha Life have, in the past, been very creative, and I wonder whether it's going to continue here.
I think for sure they're going to bring in some interesting picks that you might not expect. I don't know if they're going to go totally off the rails and try to build a Tryndamere hyper carry comp once again. That maybe was taking it a little bit too far, because I think they're a good enough team to just play relatively straight up with their own flavor. You know, a couple of interesting picks here and there and win against the majority of the teams in this league. And as they're kind of middle of the pack, there are not a lot of players that have like significant like signature picks for them. But so far, Haru has been, I feel like, second best Jarvan out of all of the Jarvans we've seen. Clid, I feel like, should take number 1, but he's sitting at 4-0 on the pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they put some priority into that for their jungler.
Well, On going to be the last ban here, well, the second ban, sorry, for DAMWON Gaming. And yeah, I'd like to see the Jarvan. Also is Diana. He was the one that debuted the Diana jungle and did look pretty good on it. As Senna is going to be banned away, maybe a result of our last series, Senna being very powerful when teamed up with the old Tahm Kench down there. Farming Tahm Kench, a very, very scary prospect. As it would also sort of hide the issues of the DAMWON bottom lane if you could just put Nuclear basically on a support. But not going to be happening this time around, as DAMWON going to ban away Kalista as their final ban. More of a targeted one against Zenit.
Yeah, pretty interesting there. Now, Soraka and Yuumi are still left available. I don't think we could have said that for any other game, that both of them are available here. We see that Hanwha Life picks up the Yuumi.
This is going to be guaranteed Olaf Soraka if DAMWON don't pick it away right now. 100%.
Oh, Olaf Yuumi.
Sorry, Soraka had... Well, so the next round would have been these 2 picks.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see.
If Hanwha were allowed to, DAMWON identify it beautifully. They lock those away instead. And now Hanwha to fire back. This may have actually added a spanner to the works, though, because it was not necessarily expected that Noguri is going to happily move towards a Soraka pick, unless we're going to see Nuclear piloting that towards the bottom side. A lot of flexibility still available here for DAMWON, as Set is locked in. First time we've seen it this far down in a long time on Hanwha's side, but Cube had some great performances on the Set in their last series.
3-0 on the Set. Now, he was up against Sword on the side of Griffin, which at this point...
He just counterpicked himself, though, which is not great.
As Trundle is going to be the pick here. I don't... You know, I see a lot of people picking the Trundle into the Olaf. I like it, but I feel like this could have also been an opportunity to pick up the Jarvan. He's pretty good into the Olaf anyway. But seems that Karu is going to go for the Trundle instead. Has not played any games of the Trundle so far in 2020.
That set lock-in is very strange, staring down a Soraka. As it's not going to be a bottom lane Soraka unless it's support, by the looks of things here for DAMWON, as MF is locked away for Nuclear. Now thinking about their bans, might just be something like the Victor to be taken away, but they could also focus bottom lane, as Zenit is going to have his champion pool even more removed. Senna, Kalista, and the Ezreal now taken away. And we'll see what else. That's, of course, banning away the Ezreal Yuumi lane. Lucian Yuumi might be banned away here at this next point of asking, and also does handle what Tempt might want to play, as well as potentially Cuvee, depending on where Set is going to go. Unless we're going to have a Set Yuumi lane. That could be funny. It'd be like Garen Yuumi back in the day.
Why not? You know, give it a shot. Maybe that technology is a little bit too advanced for the LCK. They usually take a while to develop their technology.
But
usually
not
pretty good at farming.
This is Hanwha Life. You know,
agriculture.
they try some strange stuff. As yeah, you're right. It's definitely more of an agricultural focus. As MF Leona is going to be the locked-in bottom lane, and that is going to mean that Soraka is looking more and more like a top lane pick. And Zenit will go back to a champion that he's played almost the most, I believe, in the LCK thus far for his career, as the Varus is taken away, and Tempt moves into his famous Azir that didn't do a lot of winning, but did a lot of performing throughout his career so far. Certainly has been a good one for him.
They just, with a couple of picks right there, added a nice amount of scaling. I was joking about the Corki when you said we were going to the ship. I don't know.
Corki is here, dude.
Are they actually going to do it? I feel like that was just hearkening back to that time, as you mentioned. But Echo, seeing more and more play in the jungle, in the mid lane. We are going to see Showmaker hopping onto this pick. Perhaps this is the new Akali. They said, well, Akali is so nerfed now that Echo is just that new mid lane AP kind of assassin type champion.
And has been recognized as a pretty strong champion at the moment as well. A lot of bans, especially yesterday, and continuing along today. Klid picking up a huge MVP on it in our last match of Gen G versus Afrika. If you missed that one, go and check it out. That was a masterclass on how to play Echo jungle. But now you've got DAMWON with this really cool style of sort of dive duo as far as jungle and mid lane is concerned, but also really flexible because they have the wish from the Soraka, so they can go pretty ham in the mid game as a mid jungle duo and try and shut down what Hanwha are trying to do. I actually like DAMWON's composition quite a lot, as Hanwha with a far more standard composition this time around.
I know, I was like, they're going to be the ones that probably bring in the interesting stuff, and then they're like, oh,
and they
guys
also
like
counterpick
Azir,
themselves.
Trundle, that sounds like a lot of fun. How about Varus? You guys ever seen this champion before? Yeah, so pretty straight up. And yeah, I mean, the counter pick on the top side, I think it's more so just comfort for Cuvee. It's like he's been struggling a lot, so they just wanted to put him on something that he's doing okay in. But he's up against Nuguri Soraka, which again is another interesting pick. I feel like they felt forced into picking Soraka, but then you put Nuguri onto not a carry, basically. He's a hyper carry in terms of a healer, but not necessarily what you would expect from him.
Still a lane abuser, though, and we'll see what Nuguri is going to be able to do. We saw Fly attempt this particular matchup, and it looked Set favored in that one as Hail of Blades Echo. He's going to be phase drive resonating so often in this game.
Wow.
Just absolute resonance.
That really resonates with me, you know.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I like to include you.
I would hope so. I do like, though, that Showmaker has said, you know, what's something similar to Akali that is nice nowadays and is decent in the meta? It's Echo.
Yep. We saw from the jungle it was Dark Harvest being taken by Klid. A little bit more of a snowballing option. But we'll see how this Hail of Blades is going to go.
Yeah, Hail of Blades. He's got the Poro. And Minin Dematerializer. It's interesting, we see this in a lot of kind of losing lanes and winning lanes. You know, you want to try to handle the wave that's being force pushed into you if you don't have the pushing advantage. And same can go the other way, I suppose. If you're trying to push really fast, you can get it done as a late invade comes in here through DAMWON.
Yep.
Hail of Blades.
Yeah, Tempt getting hailed on real bad. Right here. Echo was often a pick into the Azir, just because if Emperor's Divide comes down, you can dodge it completely with the Chrono Break and then continue to go aggressive onto the little pigeon in the mid lane. As you can see, Showmaker very happily just darting in and out, getting that damage down. You saw that he actually took his dash first, the phase drive taken, as Canyon looking to move his way in. Haru's on a ward, and so Canyon not going to go too far. You can see the wave in a good spot here for Tempt, as Showmaker hasn't been able to play up too far without getting punished, as that was an exhaust.
Yeah, why did he exhaust? I think probably barrel engaged and they freaked out a little bit.
Well, there's the Zenith Blade. The Zenith has to use his cleanse very early, but we got a fight here. Is Haru going to get flashed on? Canyon grabs that kill, and now 2 versus 1 for Tempt. Can he grab the kill onto Showmaker? The answer is yes, as the Undertow lands onto Tempt, but Canyon didn't have his flash available and cannot follow up. It is just fighting everywhere at the start of this match, but an even 1-for-1 there in the mid lane with Tempt coming out on top.
Yeah, I'm glad that at least in this case we get a lot more fighting as something we forgot to mention. Yeah, Lehens is a great Yuumi player, 8-0 currently on the pick. He is one of the guys that really made it popular here in the LCK.
Well, Zenith's going to get lit on fire as Lehens jumps off his charge and will now try and get some harass down himself. But Showmaker looking for a bit of a dive towards this bottom side. Scryer's Bloom will show him this ward. There's now Nogri and Cube. We're going to check in. Very even up here towards the top side. We'll see whether Nogri can show us exactly how counterpick worthy the Soraka is in this matchup. If there's any top laner here in the LCK that can show us in the laning phase how to take someone down, it would certainly be Nogri, as Haymaker lands the sweet spot. So nice work there, Cube.
See the junglers hanging around the bottom side with flash down on Zenith. They want to go for it.
Yeah, that's the flash in. Didn't even need Canyon. And that is just what happens when you get hit by an E.
Yeah, so if you are a Varus and you do not have flash and your support doesn't have any summoners either, why are you anywhere near flash range of a Leona?
Look, can't really tell you. I'm not entirely sure myself.
There's not really much else to say. That's just a big mistake coming in from Zenith. As we saw the 2-on-2 down here, the damage was nicer from the Olaf at lower levels, but Showmaker should have stayed in and gotten one more auto. I think Tempt might have died there. That's really the only mistake. Yeah. You can see they're desperately trying to push the wave here, but it's just a mistake. You should never get in range. You just have to let those minions go. Doesn't matter how much you want them.
A little bit unfortunate for Zenith's debut to be down so incredibly far, as we see Showmaker and Tempt continuing to trade. When the Chrono Break comes in, that's going to be where Showmaker is able to really go ham in this lane. Parallel Convergence not actually going to get him the shield this time, as Beryl's going to turn up in the mid lane, thinking about counter gank options or something like that. But Canyon finds himself an Undertow, but misses out on a Rift Scuttler there on the top side. And even is the jungle, which is not something you normally say about anyone versus Olaf. Olaf very fast, and Trundle not necessarily known for AoE camp clear.
Yeah.
He's been able to stay healthy and get himself around this jungle. Canyon not even going back yet, actually, as Haru's still able to continue impressing.
I think that might be part of the reason, because Haru died, and super early on in the game, the death timers are like 3 seconds, so
yeah,
it actually allowed him to go back, buy his jungle item, and perhaps farm up a little bit faster than Canyon, who was hanging around the bottom lane for about 45 seconds. So that was another reason why that was going on. They didn't end up really needing him in the end.
Yeah, full clears his jungle now, though, and he's going to go back. It's going to be Cinderhulk coming in for the Olaf. getting as tanky as possible to make sure Noguri is able to heal him up and keep him in the fight for as long as possible. Noguri goes back, gets himself his Fiendish Codex. We'll be building towards his Athene's Unholy Grail as the first item option for the Soraka. Showmaker and Tempt continuing to just fight one another. A lot of extra movement speed there for Showmaker, as you could see. But Showmaker now not going to be under any threat of dying, as he can just press his R button to get himself to relative safety, assuming he knows where his Echo is going to be.
Ah, yes, the Echo.
Yeah. As Noguri just getting punched by Cuvée here, moves out of the way of the Haymaker, and we'll see whether he can land some Qs to get his health back up again. DAMWON stealing away a red buff, and Canyon will be able to lock that one down with his smite. DAMWON, good rotation to make sure that they can deny that red buff away from Hanwha, Haru especially.
Canyon getting started here on the Mountain Drake, as Nuguri's got to be careful about taking these trades. Executioner's calling, taken early to deal with the Soraka.
We got Barrier and Wish, so I don't think he was actually anywhere near dying as Tempt throws back Showmaker, but the parallel convergence comes in. He spots Haru, immediately gets himself out, and that's what we were talking about, the safety of the Echo in this matchup. But now that's going to be on cooldown. We'll see how this changes Showmaker's playstyle here in this lane. Time Warp Tonic going to help him get his health back up again, as Leona not going to find an opportunity to get herself in. And Noguri moving himself back towards top lane as Cuvé's just taking
This is part of the
away.
reason. If you take so much chip damage in the lane, you're eventually going to be pushed out. Even if you do have Summoner's Wish and stuff like this, you're not going to have your teleport to get back. So he misses a giant wave, has to deal with this. He needs to know as a Soraka that he's good at nullifying the set and countering him, but not if you just run straight at him. So I wonder if this Soraka is actually good for Nuguri's style, because he loves to get super aggressive, and that might actually hurt him up against Set.
Well, now he's going to throw his ward in, spots Cuvée out, misses the Q as Beryl's going to come forward. Airy applied, and Haru is in the area, but Beryl's lying in wait. Not sure Leona and Soraka are necessarily going to have the damage potential, but Canyon's making his way up, and Hanwha will disengage.
Yeah, I think Nuguri was baiting a little bit too hard, made it pretty obvious that someone was around, as now with the rotation we see very often from the bottom lane. They're going to make their way up and try to take down Shelly pretty early on in this game.
Showmaker will clear out this minion wave, but he's still behind by a little bit. That's because, of course, Tempt had more of an opportunity to farm things up after Showmaker's death earlier on. So we have a look at the gold. Cuvée sitting on a gigantic sum of money up there top side. No teleport available. Looking pretty comfy right now. Also taking the fleet footwork just to make sure that he's got as much sustain in this lane as possible going up against the Soraka. I don't mind that choice at all.
This mid lane always looks so messy because there's like three shoulders.
Everywhere.
There's Echo's little guy following him, plus all the circles around all the minions from his Q, from the Echo Q. It's like, you can barely see what's going on there. There's so much.
It's a mess.
So many graphics going on.
Noguri missing out on a couple of those minions there. The banana's not quite working out. You can see he's behind a couple of waves here in this lane. Not a huge deal, as we've spoken about before. That double up actually really hurting. As Cuvée presses Q, chases after Noguri. Silence does come in, but the face break is going to be in range. And there it is. Showstopper comes down. Barrier is gained from this one. As Cuvée not going to be able to find the sweet spot there of the Haymaker, but still doing enough damage. Wish still available as Haru steals away the blue buff. And now, final chapter has been read out. Bullet time is doing a lot more damage though, as Parallel Convergence not going to stun anyone. Showmaker now hunting down towards the bottom side. Undertow lands onto Zenit. The Wish comes in just for good measure. Gives Noguri an assist, and now Lahens, without anyone to jump to, is getting dove. Canyon not going to be able to tank too much more though, as remember that turret charges up. Showmaker has to use his ult, but gets back under the turret. Bit of a disaster. However, they are going to survive without anyone dying, and Zenit is 0-0.
Yeah, DAMWON actually really dominating the early game. The top lane, Nuguri's not dying, which is really the only thing he needs to focus on. But other than that, they get the early first blood down on the bottom side. Hanwha with Haru just trying to invade the blue, I think was a mistake. They all get caught out by the Olaf once again, making that champion look really strong.
Oh yeah.
Into the Trundle when he's not actually supposed to be that strong. And at the end of the day, just getting caught down the river straight into the bullet time, giving 2 kills over to Nuclear now.
Just had a look at it one more time, guys. Haru, he managed to get the blue buff. So there's that.
And then, well, he baited Zenit and Lehens into the fight. Trying to get in there. I guess they didn't expect the bottom lane to be back down there that fast, but they went to Rift Herald, went back, and immediately came bot lane again. And it caught them all by surprise. And when you're up against Leona Olaf, it's going to be extremely hard to run away, especially when you're down summoners. And wasn't much they can do once they got out of position.
Well, Canyon continues to just storm through his jungle. Cuvee moves back up towards top side, dealing with very annoying Nogri on his Soraka.
Is that his name now?
Well, yeah.
Very annoying.
Certainly how it's been working thus far, as he has his Athene's Unholy Grail. That's going to be stacking up and giving him even more healing. As, yeah. We'll see how much more difficult this lane gets for Cuvee.
Kenyon's got the most gold in the game. Even more than the Azir that has 131 CS.
Yeah.
At before 13 minutes.
Well, there's Solar Flare, and there is most likely a dead Zenit unless Lehens can get there. Zenith Blade comes down. Final chapter is red. A lot of turret damage to come here onto Beryl, who doesn't have flash, but he will survive in the end. It was close, but not close enough, and this is obliteration in the bottom lane. As, okay, Showmaker gonna have to use his ultimate yet again, and the Infernal Rift is coming in here. Earth, Wind, and Fire in order are going to be the Drakes.
There you go.
I got it.
Today's really not the day of subs. Like, All In comes in, has a decent first game, but then, you know, he kind of gets wrecked by BDD, and now Zenit comes in for the first time, and unfortunately isn't having the best game on the Varus. He's just playing too far down the lane up against the Leona, which, by the way, I believe that was picked into the MF Leona, so they knew what they were going up against, and he's just not playing safe enough without summoners on this pick to survive, and he's getting caught over and over, and unfortunately, over again.
And, yeah. Solar Flare bullet time, everyone. I guess?
Solar time.
Yeah. Bullet Flare.
Bullet Flare is better.
Yeah, I like that one. But I guess you Solar Flare first. So maybe Solar Time.
Solar time is, that doesn't really...
I mean, it's definitely
it's
more
not very
climate change conscious.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Solar Time? Guys, it's Solar Time.
Solar time, please.
Let's stop with the
Pay
fossil
attention.
fuels. It's Solar Time.
Yeah.
And it is Solar Time, so okay.
Solar,
I'm warming to it.
Solar was a really good Zerg player in StarCraft 2.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah. So I'm
always
down for the Solar
his name
time.
Solar though.
Solar.
It's less of a solar.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I didn't ever actually equate it to like solar power.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
But no solar players here in.
I wonder how the
League of
StarCraft
Legends.
is going at the moment. Katowice is on at the moment.
I don't know.
Interested to see how
Sure,
that
it's
one's
going.
going. Our good mates Pig and Maynard over there, my Australian brethren on the caster desk. Exciting to see those guys. Big fan. But we're doing some League of Legends right here. No need to talk about competing games.
Yeah. We don't have anyone named Solar, but we have
The Flare.
obviously Solar Flare. We
Yeah.
have,
I mean, talking about solar things.
what's that item? Solari? Locket of the Iron
Yeah.
Solari.
That is true.
Yeah.
The Showmaker is going to look for Tempt here. But Lehens is joining him. Two-person powerful bird with a cat. Certainly the most unlikely of friends, much like one of my favorite shows, Cat Dog. Cat Bird is
I
another
love
one.
Cat Dog. It's
Me
such
too.
a great show.
Such a great theme song.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, that was probably my favorite.
Well, Showmaker tries to steal away his blue buff. He will have his Chrono Break, so he's not actually in very much trouble as Beryl, considering throwing out his ultimate, but isn't going to pull the trigger. Showmaker makes his way down the bottom side, where a cannon minion is tanking up the wave. Tanking up the turret in order to allow all this CS to go over to the Echo. Canyon potentially in trouble as the pillar does come in, as Make It Rain will deny any follow-up. DAMWON just continue to hold on to an advantage. It's 3,000 gold to lead. Trinity Force on the way for Cuvée. It looks like Nogari's getting towards his redemption. He's closed the gap though as Cuvée at the moment as Haymaker lands the sweet spot. And Nogari just walks away with half of his health bar used up.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't die, I suppose he'll be okay.
Poor little Zenit.
Not even going in, they're just like letting him know. It's like, hey, by the way,
you're not allowed to play this game.
Yeah, leave the lane now.
Yeah. That's sad. He does have his Blade of the Ruin King done, so he's slowly but surely getting towards some items, and he's only 30 CS behind. It could theoretically be worse, but not much worse, to be honest. There's Nogari up here, has defended half of the health bar of his turret, and this Soraka pick is more about what's going to happen in the later stages of the game. Grabs all that money from the wave, and he's down a level, but otherwise everything's fine. For good old Nogari?
Yeah, he's just chilling up there, farming. He's going to get his items slowly. And now that his team has won elsewhere on the map, I'm sure he's having a grand old time. I think nothing really is going to be able to challenge DAMWON from this point. I mean, they're going to have to rely on Tempt, I would imagine, because he is farming really well. He's got 187 CS in this one. Cuvé's also on the set, so perhaps if he can get some really nice engagements, but other than that, you're going up against a Soraka that has stayed alive and a 3-0-1 MF, not to mention a big Olaf with a healer on your team.
Yeah, the gigantic Olaf with Soraka is really frightening.
Things are just looking smooth sailing for the side of DAMWON, which has not been the name of the game for them so far in 2020.
No, they have had some struggling performances. As that's Zenit getting dove by Showmaker, who chrono breaks his way back, was actually trying to use that for damage, but Zenit not going to be silly enough to walk towards the Echo's clone. As Canyon just going to solo down this Infernal Drake. Earth, Wind, and Fire has been collected, and Infernal Soul threatened in favor of DAMWON. And I want to return to that stat at the beginning of the game. It's Hanwha Life. How many games have they won without Dragon Soul?
0.
Yeah. That's a whoopsie.
If they don't get Dragon Soul, they lose 100% of the time. Every time.
It does certainly show that Hanwha don't necessarily come back from poor starts. It often feels that if they do start losing, they just continue losing. Which is not a great sign.
Yeah, and also that they can only win when the game goes long enough for them to get the Dragon Soul and for them to be far ahead enough to secure that objective. It's on paper, I guess when you first look at it, it seems like a good stat, but actually it's like a bad stat, right?
Yep.
0 wins without the Dragon Soul. Not so good.
Now, with Zenit down here at his inner turret, thankfully for him, Showmaker keeps throwing waves back at him, but I do want to bring back our good friend LS. A wave freeze would stop that Varus from being able to farm ever. Which ain't too bad, as that's a great pillar. It's going to stop Shirley from being able to get her charge off, unless Haru can't manage to kill her. As there's the Emperor's Divide, bullet time comes in as well, as now Haru possibly going to get answered. Great ultimate into the backline from Cuvée, but everyone's going down low. No one's dead just yet. Wish comes in, and the Olaf makes his way out. That's what a Soraka will do to your team.
Yeah, they take probably the worst engage we've seen in quite a while into everybody surviving after only having blown a couple of flashes.
I believe Shirley didn't get a charge, though, so success for Hanwha Life.
Absolutely.
That was their objective. They nailed it. Nicely done.
They were able to keep their turret alive, keep the game going.
And it is Ardent Sensor from Nogari. We often see Redemption in this slot, but it is going to be the Ardent Sensor picked up to begin with. That is going to buff Nuclear and Showmaker's damage quite a lot every time a Wish is thrown out, not to mention Canyon as well. It's only going to add to the healing. I think the Forbidden Book for Tempt's second item is going to be something that's justifiable this game. I hate to say it. I think it is true.
Yeah. As we had some action there in between the Drakes, which was kind of surprising. But it was DAMWON trying to bring it upon themselves with the Shirley drop down here. And this could be one of the earliest Dragon Souls that we could possibly have so far in the LCK.
Yeah.
As it's going to drop down halfway
23
through
minutes.
23 minutes.
Jeepers. Showmaker looking for Cube, going for the 1v1 as Parallel Convergence comes in. Not going to be able to land the stun though, as Cube gets himself his own shield with the Haymaker. It's just going to be a gentleman's agreement for the moment, as Canyon just wandering around this pillar. Haru going to put down some yucky ground he runs real fast on.
For some reason, I feel like with this Trundle skin, the pillar is a lot more effective.
Yeah, it looks fatter.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just feels that way.
I think it actually is bigger.
Like,
it's like
visually, but
yeah,
not actually.
Yeah.
You would, unless it's a broken skin, which I hope it's not.
That's generally banned.
Yes.
When the skins do give you any sort of unfair advantage, they are taken away from the competitive pool, and often fixed as well, as we see a lot of the skins that used to be banned now available in pro play. Best example that I have is Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank's hook was just notably better. Like, it was crazy. That skin was real silly. Also, the Anivia legendary skin actually fixed Anivia's auto attack animation, which only recently got fixed. Yeah. And you had to use it, and pro players didn't know how to play the champion without that skin. Because auto animation was just so bad at the beginning. Apart from Froggen. Froggen could do it because he was just the Anivia Lord and savior.
There's Steel Legion Lux. I feel like they didn't change that, actually. It's still impossible to see the Q that comes out from that Lux skin. Thankfully, we don't see Lux anymore. Nope. I don't know why I said thankfully. I actually like Lux a lot, but we don't have any problems with seeing that skin, I suppose.
Haven't we seen one Lux? Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
we've
we
seen
saw
one Lux support.
We saw one. I just mean in general, it's like...
Yeah, I don't
really
know whether you're
played.
allowed to play that skin either. I don't know whether we saw it. Elementalist Lux is a little bit too cool.
Keel with a K-E-W-L.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Keel.
It's the only Keel I deal with. As, okay, Cube and Showmaker once again fighting. Parallel Convergence going to get the shield for Showmaker. Eats up the Haymaker there as you see Beryl moving on down as there's the Showstopper. And Showmaker going to get some damage down. Really love the ultimate, able to escape as well here as the bullet time flying on in, but Beryl going to be the first one to go down. Nogri a little bit late to the party as this is Infernal Soul, and now they have to do it without their support. Back coming in, Showmaker does have his teleport, and there's the Emperor's Divide. Nogri gets demolished at the beginning of this fight, but a lot of AoE coming on through. Showmaker makes his way back in, and it's a double kill already for Nuclear. Make that a quadra, as now they'll grab the Infernal Soul. And Nuclear, welcome to the LCK for 2020, my friend. We've missed you, but it's great to have you back.
He makes it back, and he gets the Infernal Soul for his team, 7-0-2. After Showmaker tries so hard to int into this one. He baits in Beryl, and I don't know, just 1v1ing the set here just doesn't seem like a good idea. Echo doesn't have enough items just yet. They have to blow Wish here. Before he uses his ultimate, Beryl's left all alone. Bullet time seems wasted, and you're thinking, wow, did they just throw here at Infernal Soul? But then what happens is they can't get onto the backline onto Nuclear.
Great answering flash from Nogri there as well.
Look at Nuclear. He's behind the Emperor's Divide, so he has a literal wall in front of him. Nobody can get to him. And so he's so fed, he's able to auto everybody in front of him. The double-ups are doing insane damage. And that was it. Zenit wasn't able to do nearly as much damage as Nuclear, who is much more fed, of course. And due to that play, Nuclear is able to pick up a quadra.
7-0-2 now, as, yeah. Just sometimes you need to get onto the AD carry in order to win a team fight, especially when they are this fed, as he's got the maximum gold bounty now. But Showmaker making his way back into the fight and actually performing very, very well. Did help out also, created a lot of space after, you know, the Showstopper was on cooldown, Tempt's Emperor's Divide was on cooldown, Zenit had flashed and used his Chains of Corruption and hadn't found anything. Of course, Emperor's Divide, you can walk through it if it's your team, but it did just look like a wall
visually
stopping anyone from getting to Nuclear.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. He just was able to stand behind them and nobody could really get onto the backline, and once you avoid the Emperor's Divide, it's like, well,
he was just attack moving.
Lots of room
able
for
to
me.
attack move, spam Qs.
Yeah.
And even though Bullet Time was on cooldown, he'd already softened up the members of Hanwha Live to the point where it was just cleanup duty. Great to see a good performance out of Nuclear, though, because sometimes Nuclear can even get ahead in early games and then be unable to actually transition that into the type of aggressive play that we want to see out of our AD carries. But 7-0-2 certainly showing us that he has been performing now. And with his 3 items as well as a luxury Executioner's Calling, this guy's a very happy Misfortune.
He's feeling pretty good. I actually wouldn't have minded the GA at this point, just to say, you know, you can kill me once, but I'll be back in my super fed form, and maybe Soraka can heal me up once again to keep a fight alive, because as it stands, yeah, he'll be doing an insane amount of damage, but if he gets caught once by a Set or by an Azir, there's a decent chance that he just gets blown up and he can't lifesteal through it.
Yep. Unless Nogari can be in position to protect him, but as you can see, he's now only just moving towards this mid lane. Cuvee dealing with all of the minions bottom side, but has teleport if this Baron is indeed started. But that's Infernal Soul, that's Baron positioning, and that is not a lot of hope for Hanwha Life in this game.
Yeah, they got the 1-2 on the control wards to...
Okay. Showmaker does have to get out of there. Lahen's going to go down extraordinarily low, but he's Yuumi, so he should be all right. Beryl is going to miss, but lands the Solar Flare. There's the bullet time. Zenit down to about half health before the fight has even really started, but that's a really good piercing arrow. And now Cuvee flashing forward, gets the face breaker. Nogari with the barrier, keeps himself alive, and Nuclear has taken down the Azir already. The Soraka has been taken, but I have a feeling the damage has been done, as Trundle will fall down. No more jungler to stop this Baron, as Showmaker is hunting. Will find the snare, and Cuvee will the 1v1 work out this time, as remember, this is Infernal Soul. He does a lot of damage and now has 12 stacks on his Magi's, but able to run real fast.
He remembers Set. It's really hard for an Echo to 1v1 Set.
He's getting his revenge.
Yeah.
What he's going for right now is Timewinder going to help out grabbing this Baron, and DAMWON, 5,000 gold in the lead. Feels like they're ahead by a whole lot further with the power of this Infernal Soul.
Yeah, so the passive of MF plus the Infernal Soul plus 7 kills. I want you to just watch Temp's health in this one. Bullet time comes out, but it has to be canceled. And then just watch here once Temp moves forward. Look at Nuclear. Just jump onto him 1, 2. It's like, and the double up on the Zenit. He loses half his health in the back line. And immediately it's like, oh, we got the Soraka guys. Wait, where'd you go?
My screen's gray. I don't know what happened. My God.
And that was about it. Passive plus Infernal Soul plus all of those items. Just pop, pop. And that's all you need.
Well, this is definitely the best we've seen of Nuclear so far. Doesn't necessarily look like it was all that tough for him, to be honest. It was a team effort to get him this fed, but now being able to see DAMWON playing around a fed 80 carry, never seen it before, Valens.
I know.
Like, this is the first time. I'm so excited. It's like a unicorn. And they have a unicorn as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
It does feel like a extremely rare circumstance here for DAMWON. And that unicorn is going to keep them safe, the both of them, I suppose. As DAMWON with the Baron look to push on in here, as Showmaker kind of reminds me of like the annoying younger brother that's like always running around and trying to poke you and annoy you and stuff, but he like can't quite kill anything. He's tried so hard to dominate Cuvee, but he just cannot do it.
Well, he's 2-1-6. He still had a good performance. Yeah. He's got 12 pages in his book. We saw pages getting torn out in most of our books so far today. But now he's getting towards a short story. You know? Not too bad. Now teleporting back towards the mid lane. Zonya's in hand. And he's a very happy little Echo. Well, if Baron buff wasn't enough, let's just grab ourselves an Elder Drake with absolutely 0 contest. And move on towards the enemy base. Hanwha Life have just stopped doing anything about anything at this stage.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first loss for Lahen's Yuumi as well.
First loss for that. It'll also add to their amount of... I guess it won't add to their amount of wins without Dragon Soul.
No, it's just going to continue that. Yeah. That's a trend that is most certainly continuing down the same path.
Yeah. Cuvee will eat his first loss on the set for 2020, 3-1. And yeah, it does feel like real desperation time here for Hanwha. Even Tempt has a weird build here. He's just trying to spend all his money, I suppose.
Yeah.
So those two items don't build into anything together anymore.
Not anymore. Used to be, all you needed was a book and you could make a hat.
Yeah.
But no, there's just two of the big pink sticks.
Yeah. So I wonder if an elixir might have just been better in this case, but either way, still just trying to build permanent items that he could potentially roll into an extreme late game that somehow he's able to carry.
Well, we've got 2 minutes on this Elder Dragon buff, as Baron's going to be up in 2.5. So if Hanwha Life are able to hold on to their base, theoretically they can fight a DAMWON that don't have Elder Drake around Baron, maybe. The problem is that Infernal Soul will still be there, and Nuclear will still be 8-0-3 with 4 items and an Executioner's Calling, and in a really, really good spot.
Without Baron, it's still going to be hard to push because the Azir can take care of one lane by himself. Then they can send a couple of people over to take care of another lane, as we're getting the huge zoom out here.
Yep.
They do have to deal with the bottom lane at the same time. They're just trying to feed Zenit as much as possible.
Trying to make him into a champion, but it might take a little while. Temp has to flash out of the Solar Flare as this inhibitor turret is going to go down. Canyon down to about half health, but remember, that doesn't mean anything. Nogari still has Witch available. His W's heal for half the health bar of the Olaf of all champions. Now 1.5 minutes towards the Baron. Second inhibitor going to go down. Another back to come in here as Showmaker just ults himself back towards the mid lane and gets his full health bar back. Nogari down to half health as in goes Showmaker, looking for the dive. Bullet time is gigantic damage into the back line. Azir is dead. The Varus, I think, was in the team fight for a little while. He's taken down as well, and this game is over. DAMWON are going to stamp their foot down against Hanwha Life here and show some different gears with the Soraka top lane, with Nuclear finally having a carry performance. And this is what we've wanted out of this squad. Showmaker continuing just to have a good time, annoying Cube as he stands on the base. But this will show that Hanwha Life cannot leave Soraka available, even if it is against Nogari, who wouldn't necessarily normally pick it. I have a feeling DWG just called their bluff in this game.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way, as they're like, oh, you don't expect us to take those two champions? Well, don't mind if we do. We'll just scoop them up. Nogari plays the Soraka nicely, doesn't get dominated in lane, and I do have to say, though, that I would like a swap down in the bottom side. Doesn't look like Zenit is quite ready, as perhaps he was just really nervous for his first time coming back. It does feel bad for him.
He got destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and it was through multiple of his own mistakes, like many of his own mistakes.
Yeah.
Just like walking way too close to a Leona without his summoners, and it just seemed like kind of nervous mistakes, which is never happy for me to see. I like all of our players to be feeling good and having fun, but yeah,
well,
it
you know
just
what the
doesn't
good news
strike
is?
me like he's ready.
There is good news for Hanwha Life. They have 2 extra 80 carries, actually. So
yeah,
they'll be totally fine. They can put Lava in, they can put Vista in if they would like to. So certainly we are likely to be seeing some subs after this break. Not confirmed, of course, but I would assume that after a performance like that, you'd probably want to give the guy a break. Because getting trashed by Nuclear is not something that feels super great, as he is not one of our more dominant 80 carries. 22.7k damage and a pretty linear gold graph here for DAMWON. Feeling pretty elementary. I think next time around, Hanwha Life aren't going to counterpick themselves in top lane.
Yeah.
Like, let's do that, please.
You know, Kive wants what he wants, I suppose. It didn't end up allowing him to carry at all, but either way, it was kind of just too much of a disaster down on the bottom side of the map for.
I feel like Beryl also had a
much.
great return to,
yeah.
to
I
the
thought
LCK.
about giving it to him because he was a lot of the reason why they were starting all of those
That's a good
fights.
point.
But at the same time, it was kind of just like pretty easy stuff that it's like, oh, he's right there, let me just get him, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
and also, like, Nuclear doesn't have carry performances like this very often. And I want to recognize that he was finally able to show that he is able to crush a lane. Because, honestly, before this, I don't remember the last time Nuclear was a hard carry for this team.
He also did have a great game, like awesome
Yeah.
positioning in all those fights for sure.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. We'll see whether it continues after the break.
나 형 국각 봐도 돼요.
이미 밀었어.
아 미드 필요하다. 집 갔다 공으로 올게. 계속해. 공으로 올게.
별로 가는 거 괜찮아.
나 궁쿨 30초야. 나 가도 돼. 장로
왜
연애.
장로 끝난다 10초 후에. 나지를 높으니까 배달 의식 안 해도 돼. 그러면은.
들어가 볼게 이거.
오케이.
나 바로 높을. 바로
나
잡을.
타워 걸어 가. 안 돼. 끝났다. 세트 프리터.
야 이걸 왜 치고 있냐? 야 뭐야?
뭐해?
너
그만해.
상남자야?
불도저야 얘 무슨?
불렀다. 야 가자.